going to have a look at a feature called Report Filter Pages. So what I'm going to do just before we start that, let's actually just have only the years within the columns, and let's also just clear out any filters that may be currently applied. All right, so there we go. So what you sometimes want to do is you may want to distribute the information. You may want to have, for example, this exact pivot table, but you want to have one sheet just basically for the northern region, and then maybe you want to create a separate sheet of the southern region and so forth. Now here there's only 4 different options within the region filter, but in practice, I mean, this could have been 30 or a lot more than just 4, right? So what you can actually do is I'm going to show you now. Let's actually just go back and just reset that. So under the pivot table analyze ribbon tab, if you click on the options, not on the options itself, but on the drop down arrow next to the options, you'll see this option called show report filter pages, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then it says, what do you want to show report filter pages for, right? Now the key point, the only options you will see listed in this particular dialog box is anything that you've included under the filters option over here. So the only field that we've listed over here is the region, which is why we're only actually seeing the region. Now before I click on OK, I want you to note we've only got 3 different sheets here at the bottom, right? We've just got this pivot table, which is in sheet 1, and then we have the sales data and possible questions sheet. Now watch what happens when I click on OK. When I click on OK, it immediately created 4 different sheets. It created a northern region, a southern region, a western region, and an eastern region. So what this function basically does is it actually duplicates the pivot table across these 4 sheets. And for each of these sheets, it changes the region to that specific region. So this becomes the northern region here, means that it's actually selected northern region on the region filter, and so on for each of the others. So this just basically makes it a lot easier to distribute, especially if you're protecting a sheet and you want to distribute it so that somebody who's looking at the data can know that when they click on this sheet, these numbers represent the western region, and these numbers represent the southern region. Or you may even want to copy these sheets out to separate workbooks to distribute to people. So it just makes your life easier instead of having to manually create multiple pivot tables and do a filter manually to see the data that you need for each one. I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of these. So I'm going to click on the first one, keep my shift key in, and then click on the last one, so it actually groups them all together. And then I'm going to right click and say delete, and it's giving me a warning. It'll permanently delete those. I'm going to say yes. Now what I want to show you that's quite important to note is that if you have any filters here on your main pivot table, before you actually do this function, it's going to carry those filters across to those sheets. So say for example, I actually filtered and I was only looking at vegetables, let's just do vegetables, snacks, and sauces and oils, and say okay. And also let's assume that in terms of the design, I had a specific design. So let's say my design was this one over here, right? So if I now go ahead and actually perform that function, so under pivot table analyze, I click on this drop down next to option and I say show report filter pages, and I say we're going to do it for region, and I say okay. When it creates all the copies, it will keep that filter from the original source as well as the formatting. So you can see they all look the same as the original pivot table, and each one of these that is created, they have exactly the same filters being applied to them. So that's just one thing to be aware of. So if you want to filter on data, then you should do that before actually running the function. But if you want to show all the data, make sure that you clear out all of the filters before you create the report filter sheets.